Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Dig it, baby. She's the queen of steam, the diva prima donna, eternally poised to deal with the situation at hand. We know of her through the praises of her man, Mr. Collins, but we've yet to meet her in person, which is precisely where Elizabeth Bennet is destined to venture. Charlotte Lucas, now Mrs. Collins, has invited Lizzie to Hunsford in Kent to stay for an extended visit, but her travels take her first to the City of London. It is here that Jane welcomes her sister, who is pleased to see Jane looking as healthful and as lovely as ever, in spite of Mr. Bingley's sudden vanishing act. Lizzie's aunt, Mrs. Gardiner, takes her shopping and then to the theatre, where the conversation eventually falls on the subject of Mr. Wickham. Considering that the man has turned his attention to another woman, Elizabeth appears to be taking it all in good stride. Mrs. Gardiner mildly consoles her and inquires, "My dear Elizabeth, what sort of girl is Miss King? I should be sorry to think our friend mercenary." Lizzie understands where she's going with this, and she declares Mr. Wickham to be nothing other than genuine and true. What would the matter of £10,000 have to do with anything? Mrs. Gardiner clarifies the details. But he paid her not the smallest attention till her grandfather's death made her mistress of this fortune. Elizabeth articulates her logic on the matter by saying, "Pray, my dear aunt, what is the difference in matrimonial affairs between the mercenary and the prudent motive? Where does discretion end and avarice begin?" In other words, in the world of Elizabeth Bennet, Mr. Wickham is a man who can do no wrong. Elizabeth travels from London to the Hunsford parsonage. She's greeted by Mr. and Mrs. Collins, and soon she is settled in. Before long, there arrives an invitation to dine at Rosings Park. The time has come to meet the celebrated Lady Catherine de Bourgh. From the entrance hall, they followed the servants through an antechamber to the room where Lady Catherine, her daughter, and Mrs. Jenkinson were sitting. Lady Catherine was a tall, large woman with strongly marked features, which might once have been handsome. Her disposition was not conciliating, nor was her manner of receiving them such as to make her visitors forget their inferior rank. She was not rendered formidable by silence, but whatever she said was spoken in so authoritative a tone as to mark her self-importance. Mr. Bourgh, by contrast, was pale and sickly. An earlier viewing of this curious girl had made Elizabeth think amusingly of Mr. Darcy. Yes, she will do for him very well. She will make him a very proper wife. Lady Catherine proved to be quite the loquacious woman, speaking at length without intermission, delivering her opinion on every subject in so decisive a manner as to assure that she was not used to having her judgment questioned. Eventually, she turns her attention to Elizabeth, who, despite the atmosphere in the room, had been feeling herself perfectly equal to the scene. Elizabeth is questioned on a number of subjects, to which she responds accordingly and as necessary. Lady Catherine isn't sure what to make of her guest so confident, and in a reactionary manner she says to Elizabeth, "Upon my word, you give your opinion very decidedly for so young a person." Lady Catherine de Bourgh receives great praise from the devoted Mr. Collins, but we know that Lizzie believes he's gotten it all wrong. She says to Mr. Wickham, "I suspect his gratitude misleads him. and that in spite of her being his patroness, she is an arrogant, conceited woman. I believe her to be both in a great degree, Wickham replies. I very well remember that I never liked her, and that her manners were dictatorial and insolent. She has the reputation of being remarkably sensible and clever, but I rather believe she derives part of her abilities from her rank and fortune, part from her authoritative manner, and the rest from the pride of her nephew, who chooses that everyone connected with him should have an understanding of the first class. When the time comes for Elizabeth to meet Lady Catherine, she's hardly intimidated, referring to her ladyship's station in life as the mere stateliness of money and rank. Lady Catherine de Bourgh has found herself the mistress of Rosings Park by virtue of her marriage to the late Sir Louis de Bourgh. Miss Anne de Bourgh is their daughter, heiress of Rosings, seemingly born to be a duchess and fated to marry the eligible Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, master of the Pemberley estate. Lady Catherine's sister, Lady Anne, was Darcy's mother, and as we come to learn, she also has a brother whose son is her beloved nephew, the wondrous Colonel Fitzwilliam. It is something to know that Mr. Darcy is to be distinguished from his cousin because of his reticent behaviour in the face of the Colonel's naturally chatty personality. He's really good with the ladies, and yet it remains that neither are possessed of the charm and swagger, the flaring pizzazz, the flamboyant intensity, the indomitable cocksure personality of their aunt, the mighty and majestic Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Booktime Learning is dedicated to the study of writing and literature. Please consider clicking the like button and/or subscribing, and thank you for watching.